As we iterate on the PTR patch, we are going to be trying out the following hero changes. These should be on the PTR very soon, hopefully tomorrow morning. Yesterday, or 24 hours ago. So it should have been today, but it wasn't. Or it was today, actually. I'm dumb. I thought for some reason I read this as like live. I guess I'll preface this with, I don't know what problems they're trying to solve with this patch. This patch arguably just forces a meta more so than, I mean, there's no like really room for speculation. It just kind of like there is a meta and it's going to be obvious just based off of this patch, and like dive comp will be very good, very reliable. I guess my biggest criticism is I don't know why they would do that or what they think they're doing. I want to know why they're doing that more so than like the fact that they're doing it. Like, okay, cool, these are really cool buffs and nerfs, but why? And that's kind of that's always been my thing. I mean, obviously I'm an analyst and I'm analytical and I ask why a lot. But for me, I understand why you would nerf Ana. I kind of understand, I don't know why they would, but like I don't understand why they would nerf Orisa. I don't know why they would make an arbitrary change to Junkrat that doesn't apply to other heroes. I don't know why they're continually buffing Sombra when she's already pretty powerful. And I don't know why you would make such a drastic change to Winston and Zenyatta when you already buffed all the heroes or nerfed the heroes that they were good against already. So like, I'll start from the top, I guess, to explain, because I probably sound like a broken record at this point, but it's a little frustrating that I'm watching Apex on the old patch because it's on Tournament Realm. I'm watching Carbon on the current patch with like the Bastion, but last week it was like the really broken Bastion. And then now I have to worry about this too, so it makes me putting out content very difficult in terms of predicting what I should be talking towards. And from a fan standpoint, like a spectator standpoint, it's also very difficult to predict which team is going to be good, which team is going to be bad. And just like trends, because this patch is actually big enough to just throw the current situation out the window. So, yeah. Ana, Biotic Grenade, damage reduced from 80 to 60. This is a pretty big change. 200 HP heroes will die in 4 shots now instead of 3. So that's a big deal. Tracer now won't die from 2 left clicks. You need to hit a third one or a nuke. Weaker against dive heroes, just weaker in general. This is just a straight nerf to her damage. So she'll be less reliable in 1v1ing heroes now. Like 1v1 with McCree and 76 will be a lot more difficult depending on your nuke status. Yeah, I mean, this is a big nerf. Every extra shot really adds up. Like 240 damage in 3 shots to 180 is big, and 160 to 120 is very big as well. So that's huge. Biotic Grenade, impact damage reduced from 60 to 30. Impact healing reduced from 100 to 50. Also huge. I mean, like, you use this on yourself, right? So now when you nuke the ground against yourself, you'll do, what, 60 damage, I guess? Or it doesn't apply to you, right? Twice? So impact healing will just be 50 damage. So if you're at 50 HP, you'll only go up to 100 now. So Ana's survivability against dive heroes is a lot worse. You won't be able to 1v1 Tracer as easily. You won't be able to 1v1 Genji as easily. You won't be able to 1v1 like anything as easily. And you won't be able to like save your nuke for the last second anymore. You're gonna have to use it probably a little bit more early, because 50 HP is nothing. That's like another McCree shot, or I mean another Zarya right click. This isn't a lot of healing. So you're going to want to use these for their debuffs and buffs now as opposed to their damage, which is a big change. I mean, I think people asked for this at the beginning, like why does it do damage at all when it's already negating your healing? And I guess that's kind of the trend that they're going. I mean, Grenade's still strong, right? Like anti-heal is obviously always going to be good. Amplified heals will always be good. but now it's just less good. All of her damage is worse, and her ability to like swing over Reinhardt 1v1 is a lot lower. Or it's less drastic, I guess, because now you only do 30 damage to your Reinhardt, and you'll only heal your own Reinhardt for 50. So big nerfs. Nano boost is still good. The rifle's still good. The healing's still good. I mean, she's not bad. She's still playable. She's not destroyed, but she's significantly worse. I mean, there's probably a lot of complaints already from animains, but I don't care. Like, personally, I don't care. I think it's good that they're nerfing him or nerfing her, because when you compare her to the other healers, she was way, way, way broken. I mean, you compare Mercy to Ana, it's like night and day. You compare, I guess Zenyatta might be crazy now, but even before, there was no real reason to run Zenyatta when the heals from Ana were just so good. I mean, the heals from Ana are still so good. So this doesn't really change her healing as much. It just changes. I mean, that 50 damage, or the 50 heal, you'll miss it, but it's not the end of the world, is my point. Junkrat no longer hurts himself from his own explosions. So this feels awkward to me. I don't like that they just keep adding arbitrary rules to the game and then like putting them in there as passives. Like, oh, we added this effect to his passive. Because first of all, the game doesn't explain passives very well. Like, it's part of, like, Total Mayhem is when he dies and he turns into he like drops the 4 bombs. Like, now it's like, oh, also doesn't take damage from self. Like, that doesn't make sense. So I don't like it. I don't like it from a like development standpoint, not so much a gameplay standpoint. I mean, it's going to be very, like, Junkrat's going to be better, significantly better. You don't die to your own Riptire anymore, so you can like go for crazy Riptires in 1v1 situations if you get bubbled. Like, you can probably bubble Tire and like get kills that way, because you won't be able to kill yourself anymore. So this buffs the ult. You can res yourself now. You can res Junkrat and not die to your explosion, but like that very rarely ever happens, so who cares? I just don't like the concept of adding a passive that makes no sense. Like, okay, these explosions won't hurt you, because it makes Pharah feel weird. Like, if you're gonna turn off self-damage, turn it off across the board. Like, you turned it off for D.Va. D.Va doesn't hurt herself with her ult anymore. Although, realistically speaking, if you brought that back and gave her back her armor, it might not even be bad. Because I think D.Va's in a weird spot right now, too. She's playable, but she's not good. But I don't like this, because it just makes Pharah feel weird now. Pharah is the only hero that can do self-damage. So, why? Orisa, Fusion Driver, magazine size lowered from 200 to 150. I mean, this is a nerf. It's not huge. If like, it looks huge, it's 25% reduction, but her reload animation is not bad. She reloads very, very fast, and you're never really going to be going through 200 ammo. Oh, yeah. I guess 76 and Zarya do self-damage too. So just adding it to a random hero doesn't really make sense to me. You could lower it, maybe. But unless this is really well explained, it's going to feel weird. I don't know. Whatever. Who cares? It's Junkrat. He's not going to be better. Or he's not going to be played more. Like, his problem isn't his self-damage. It's the fact that he just dies to Pharah's and to McCree's. But none of that's changed. The tire is probably just better, but I don't know. You're not going to, like, run in it. You might play, like, Mercy Junkrat something and damage boost pipes or something and then res yourself into your passive. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. It's a cool buff, but I feel like Junkrat's biggest problem is that his grenades feel bad comparatively to other projectile weapons in the game. I think, like, when you shoot the Junkrat pipe, it feels like it takes 3 years for it to leave the barrel, and the projectile arch is weird. It just, the weapon doesn't feel good when you use it. Like, you can play the hero, but aiming is significantly harder with Junkrat than I think any other projectile hero, just because of the weird delay in the time when you click and the time that your projectile shoots out, which I think is true for a lot of heroes that should be changed, like Lucio. Not Pharah. They fixed Pharah. Pharah used to feel like that, and it was the worst thing in the world. But they only fixed it for Pharah. They didn't fix it for anybody else. It feels really unresponsive, and I don't like it. And I think that that's a problem with, like, again, heroes like Lucio, like Junkrat, Zarya to an extent even. There's like this weird delay when you right click and when your gun shoots, and it's bad. But yeah, Fusion Driver on Orisa. 150, I mean, it's a lot of ammo. Cool, whatever. Supercharger cost increased by 15%. I'm surprised that they did this actually because it dies already. Like, it's an ult that you can kill. No, her reload is definitely not 2 to 3 seconds. But Supercharger, like, personally, I played the hero not that much, probably like an hour or two max. But I didn't feel like I was getting ult super fast because it's not so easy to like get kills with it. Because you play against tracers and 76s that know how to move and position themselves, and you kind of get like, it's kind of hard to hit shots arguably because things move faster, like things are jumping around, blinking and stuff. It's not that good. So I don't know. I'm surprised they nerfed her. I didn't feel like she was overpowered. If anything, I felt like she was too clunky. I don't know that this hero will ever be picked. I'll give thoughts on her, I guess. I felt like she's too slow. I don't know why Blizzard thinks that they can replace Reinhardt with a hero that doesn't have a charge or an ult that like kills things instantly. The reason why Reinhardt's picked so much isn't because of his like anchor tank shit. It's because he's fast. Like, he's got a mobility option. He's got a shield that can recharge and has 2k HP. He's like, your team can move with him. Like, he can move with your team. And like, Earthshatter just does a shit ton of damage and sets up kills. This hero doesn't do any of that. She feels super slow. You're never going to want to replace her with Reinhardt. Or Reinhardt with her because it's just impractical. Like, alright, you die as Reinhardt. You get back to the fight. How do you get back to the fight? You charge. This hero, you just like trot along at your like super slow, sloth-like move speed. Like, they created her as an anchor because she feels like an anchor, because she feels like she's literally just like weighed down by 1,000,000 pounds and can't walk. Like, she feels like an anchor tank. Reinhardt has charge pin, which just does 1,000,000 damage and kills things. He has fire strike, which goes through shields and does 75 damage through people, which is crazy. Has Earthshatter, the best ult in the game, and one of the biggest reasons why you run Reinhardt a lot is because there's no real heroes that are even good against like Earthshatter. Like, what hero is good against Earthshatter? The only way to like be good against Earthshatter is to just not be in front of Reinhardt and just play high ground, I guess. But it's not that easy. So realistically speaking, if you need to replace Reinhardt, you need to give this... If you actually wanted to replace Reinhardt, you'd have to give this hero a mobility ability and probably a faster deployed shield with way less of a cooldown. Maybe make it so you could move the barrier. Like, you hit E and it throws the barrier, and then that barrier has damage or something. I don't know. You need to do... If you actually want to replace Reinhardt, you either need to nerf Reinhardt or you need to buff this hero to be faster to fights and have a shield that's less stationary. I think that that's a problem. Like, it's the same thing with Winston, except Winston has way better mobility. So again, I'm not positive when you would run this hero. I think she's only really good in like very long stretches of map where you can just like spam a doorway or something, or spam down a ramp, or set up the ult for 2 of your DPS heroes on high ground. But again, it's like, you kill this hero and it's like she can't do anything. Like, she can't walk back. She just has to walk. It's like Roadhog, but Roadhog has more survivability than this hero. Like, the tankiness doesn't do so much for this hero because she doesn't have the threat of the hook. She doesn't have like the threat of the shotgun. You literally have consistent damage. There's 0 burst damage, which is a problem. The shield isn't that good, which is also a problem. She has like no real AoE damage, and She's very underwhelming, I think. I mean, that's just my opinion. I'm sure teams will try to run her. I don't see them having much success. I think like you should change the hero a little bit. I think you give her not a charge, but maybe like a sprint ability or something. Like she's literally a centaur. You would think a centaur would be fast. It has 4 legs. It was like designed to run, but it feels like a sloth. Like you could turn this hero into a sloth and it would make more sense to me. Whatever. Stealth, sound effects and voiceover or voice distance for entering and exiting stealth reduced to 15 meters. This is a pretty big buff. Her effective range is a little bit less than 15 meters. You can hack at 15 meters, but her gun's not really that good until like 10. So there's a weird gap here where you want to like hack and still move forward. It's a big buff though. This is huge because you won't hear it. I don't know what it was. I wish that they would tell you what it was, but there were definitely times where you could hear her coming out of stealth from like a mile away. So this is good. I mean, it's a buff. I don't know if it's good, but she'll be better. And the translocator cooldown, this is a huge nerf, or this is a huge buff for some reason. Again, I don't know why they're buffing Sombra. Like they've just added another shield hero to the game, and they just buffed another shield hero to the game. So why are you buffing the only hero that's good against shields when she's already good against shields? Like if people were running Orisa, Winston, Reinhardt, which is kind of impractical, but would still probably happen. Or Orisa, Zarya, Reinhardt, which again, probably could be a thing on certain maps. Like you go to Sombra anyway. Sombra's super niche, and she's not going to ever not be niche. Like every hero in the game is niche. I don't know why they would buff the stealth hero that's good against shields and then like buff heroes that get shields. Like, do you want shields? I don't know, whatever. Like you're not going to replace Reinhardt with Orisa, so you're going to run Reinhardt plus Orisa. And then if you're running Reinhardt with Orisa, you're going to go Sombra against that. And you're going to go Bastion against that. But what's the... like, again, this just goes back to the question, like, what are they trying to solve? And I actually have no idea. Because Sombra's pick rate wasn't that bad. I don't think she would... Like, teams were starting to play her. Players were starting to play her. She's significantly less effective. The problem is that her damage is so bad. Like, EMP is a good ability, but it's not the end of the world, you know? Like, a Reinhardt and a Zarya and a Orisa get EMP'd. Like, what heroes are going to kill through EMP? Like, how do you kill 3 tanks through EMP? Like, you EMP 3 tanks to Sombra. What's killing 3 tanks now? Zenyatta plus Reaper plus, what, Tracer maybe? But then the enemy team still has supports, and you still have to worry about the Ana who's shooting, or the Zenyatta that's got ult, or whatever. So the problem with Sombra is that she takes up a DPS's slot, but she doesn't really do a DPS's damage. So for fights where you don't have EMP, she's really underwhelming, and unless you make the EMP work, she's not that good. So you have to either fix that problem, make EMP better somehow, like up the duration, but nerf the rate of like charge, or up the range of it, but nerf the rate of charge. Like, there's different ways to buff Sombra, but just making her current kit slightly better isn't the way to do it. Because this just feels weird. Like, okay, 4 seconds. Like, what else has a 4-second cooldown? Like, she's going to be hard to kill, but she's not going to kill anything, so, like, okay. I mean, the translocator's not going to change that. Like, the only times the Sombra died right now anyway was Roadhog Hook or Flashbang. And this doesn't really change any of that. It just is what it is. So I don't understand this change at all. It doesn't help her do what she couldn't do already. It just makes her better at what she was already doing. If that makes sense. Like, you can escape with it now, but you were never really... Like, you never initiated with it. So, like, you could initiate with it arguably now and then somehow survive for 4 seconds, and then you could get out with it. So like it changes your playstyle a little bit, I guess, or you could like you could try it, but if you die in those 4 seconds, it wasn't worth it. Generally, you drop the translocator, you invis in, and then you do damage, and then you translocate out. But now your uptime's higher, like you can go back, wait 4 seconds, drop your translocator again, and repeat, or you can translocate in, try to live, and then translocate out. But why would you do that? Like it's just risky. It's never gonna happen in a pros match. Like teams will try it. You can probably get away with like a translocator into EMP into translocate out now, but again, that was never the problem. So this doesn't solve any problems. It just makes the hero better at what it was already doing. Barrier projector on Winston. Cooldown now starts when the barrier is placed instead of when it ends. I want to say it's a 14-second cooldown with like a 7-second uptime on the shield unless it dies. So this is pretty ridiculous in terms of uptime for Winston and like when he can fight. Generally, Winston was one of the heroes that you played around the cooldowns most. You would like jump in, use your shield, jump out. Now, and then like you'd have to wait for your shield. Now you can like jump in, drop your shield, jump out. Now you might only have to wait like 5 seconds instead of 9 or 10 and then jump back in after you get healed. So this is a very big buff to Winston. Like this is a lot bigger than I think people will like realize at the beginning, because it ups his, like generally in team fights, in MOBAs, and in Overwatch, obviously, you play around your cooldowns, and like you'd go in with your cooldowns off, like you go in, use your cooldowns, and get out, and then go back in. And this changes the, what's the word, the percentage of time that you're in the fight as Winston, and it ups it quite substantially and ups the survivability and ups the annoyance factor. He'll still die to Roadhog the same way, but it definitely makes dive comp a little bit scarier, because now you have way more bubbles to play around. Like the uptime on bubble is way higher, and like, yeah, whatever. Zenyatta, Orbital Destruction, alternate fire, recovery rate reduced from 1 to 0.6 seconds. 40% reduction in recovery time is quite big. Generally speaking, when you use Zenyatta's right click, there was like this weird second where you just could not shoot, and now that that's reduced to 0.6 seconds, it should make the right click slightly better or less risky, I guess. Generally, before, I never really went for right clicks because I felt like if I ever got caught by a tracer while I was right clicking and I missed, I was just dead. But now maybe you'll try it anyway. Like you can go for the right click kill. But generally speaking, this is it's a buff. Is it a huge buff? It's big, but only if you were really using right clicks. I don't think it really incentivizes right clicks because you can't Discord while you're right clicking. So it's still probably better to left click Discord left click than right click Discord left click. Still a buff nonetheless. Orb of Discord can now target enemies through barriers. I don't like this at all. I think that, again, this is like a weird game-breaking mechanic. This might be way too strong. Like way too strong. Like you have a Reinhardt now, and you just Discord him, and then your Tracer pulse bombs him, and he just dies. Like, there's nothing you can do. You need a Zarya, right? Your Ana's behind a Discord. Your Ana's behind, or like your Winston drops a bubble, and you Discord the Winston through the bubble. Suddenly Winston's just like dead. Reinhardt's standing in a choke, and you Discord Reinhardt, and then Genji dashes at him. Like, it's like, stop adding shields to the game, and then you won't have to do stuff like this. I'm not convinced that Orisa needed to be a tank in reality. I actually don't think she needed to be a tank. I think she could have done like 300 HP, had like a faster gun, and just moved faster, and she would have been like a sick defensive hero, or just like supportish 76 type character. But this is like game breaking, and it doesn't work against Zarya. Like this, and again, like this goes back to the notes. It's like it says it goes through barriers, but Zarya's ability is literally called projected barrier, and it doesn't go through it. So if I'm a new player and I read this, I would assume it's going to go through Zarya's bubbles, but it doesn't. This is a big change though. because the only counter to Discord right now is Zarya. And now you can't really even play around the Zarya cooldown because you can't rely on your Reinhardt to block the Discord from coming out. So now Discord can literally just come out all the time. Like, everyone can just be Discorded. And I don't know why that's like a good move, or like why that's an intelligent decision. And like, I actually want to know why they think it's an intelligent decision so I can like try to agree with it or something. But how do you get rid of Discord now? Like, what are your options? You can't even stand behind a Reinhardt shield. Like, there's like the scenario where you just like can't, like, Discord's just gonna be there, you know? Like, you actually just have to hide behind walls. And this was a gripe, I think. I remember me and Clockwork used to complain about it so much when the game came out. It was like, you had to, what's the word? Like, there was a time when you could run like triple Zenyatta, right? When the game came out, it was like you could run like 2 Zenyatas if you wanted. And teams did that. Like, it was like Zenyatta, 2 Zenyatas, 2 Tracers, or 2 Zenyatas, 2 Genjis, and like 2 Winstons. And like, that was actually a thing on like payload maps. And you would just like stand there and give people Harmony Orbs, and Harmony Orb was global, and you didn't have to keep line of sight with your your players. And you would just have to, if you got Discord Orbed, you just had to stop playing the game for like X amount of seconds and just wait behind a wall. So this brings that back even more so now. Now you can't even just like stand behind your Reinhardt shield. You just stand there and die. This is really broken, in my opinion. I mean, someone's probably going to tell me, or someone on Reddit's going to be like, oh my god, Flame, he hates Ana mains and he's clearly an anti-Zenyatta player. Why does Flame hate healers? But like, realistically, this is crazy. Because there's no counterplay. Like, there's no hero now that can keep up with Discord. It's like, this is like actually super broken when you consider the concept of like the dive comp versus the standard 222 versus the like 76 style comps. Like, now Zenyatta just has to look at you and you just die. Like, look guys, you see that Reinhardt right there? We're gonna Discord him, and then suddenly Winston, Tracer, and Genji just jump at him. He's just dead. He doesn't even have to do anything. Winston just stands there and holds down left click. And then Tracer maybe like goes in and does a little bit of damage. And then Ana's like sitting in the back with her new like 60 damage her new 60 damage gun with her 30 damage. Like, what? LOL, sorry, I can't help you. And like, now, right, like, if you put a Bastion on the Dorado Fountain anymore, and then you Discord the Bastion through the Reinhardt shield that he's playing around, but you still die to a Pharah rocket from behind because the Zenyatta was able to see you. This is actually crazy. This is actually very broken. I will stick to that statement. But again, dive comp, gonna be very powerful. I mean, Winston's buffed, Zenyatta's buffed, Tracer's still Tracer. I mean, there was never really a time where you couldn't run Tracer. Genji's worse, but who cares, right? It's just another dive hero. Maybe you can run Sombra dive or something and just EMP these new Zenyatas. But like, you buff Zenyatta, then you buff the counter to Zenyatta, and then you buff the barrier hero, and then you buff Sombra. They obviously want Sombra to be picked, but this isn't the way to do it, because EMP is still very hit or miss, and most of the setups for EMP take too long to build, notably Zarya ult or Earthshatter or something. So again, this makes the game very one-dimensional. I think dive comp will be arguably unstoppable because Zenyatta will just be able to stand behind or she won't have to say anything. She'll just be able to look at you, and then you'll take amplified damage, and then 3 people will just come kill you in half a second. So I honestly would rather, like, I want to know what problem they're trying to solve with this patch. I actually want to know. I'm not even like, this isn't me being toxic. I literally want to know what they think they're doing with this patch, because they made the changes to the respawn timers, which still isn't very clear to me. If you get a kill, if you're on defense and it's 5v5, does that timer ever reset? When does that timer reset? When you get numbers back? I think so, right? Like the timer of extra time or whatever changes when your number finally gets back to 6. So dive comp is already good just because of the respawn change. So the respawn change the respawn change by itself was enough to justify running dive comp. Now they just took it to another level. Like, this actually breaks it. So that's my analysis. I'm pretty sure I hope that this doesn't last very long. I still haven't done my placements. I have no intention of doing my placements until there's like a patch that doesn't have a PTR associated with it. Like, once they get rid of PTR, I'll do my placements. Because right now it's very hard for me as a content creator to keep up with the game, because I have to play it and then I have to analyze it, but the patches keep changing, so it's very hard for me to watch Apex thinking about the current patch that I'm playing, thinking about the patch that's coming. It's a lot for me, and I don't think that this could last very long. I mean, people are going to praise it. There's going to be teams that are like, oh my god, I love this patch. This is the best patch ever. And they're going to be the teams that are going to dive, and that's that. So, whatever.